Yeah, me too. I got my name. Yep. Yep. There you are.
Yep, you may have to put up with echo for a minute. I want to see if this is correct or not.
See, this is why we can't have nice things.
It's all your fault, Cass. We blame you entirely.
It worked the last time I was here.
This is true, actually. This is true. It's Copat's fault then. Oh, found you all the jokes. I hear myself, I hear myself.
Echo.
Okay. Wow, that's gonna be big echoes. Okay, mute the speaker button and mute. Speaker button's unmuted.
Okay.
And we'll wait a minute. I may have tracked down the issue. Holden, how many audio repeaters do you have up?
One.
Just the one.
Mm-hmm.
Shouldn't be doing this.
Arschnacker. Grr.
Okay, well, I've worked out one issue. Let's stop streaming. Hit live, yeah? Cool. Okay. It may well have been. If I hear myself in about a minute, then we'll be all good. One hopes. Why the hell? I don't understand how that changed, though. Nothing changed.
Arschnacker.
Don't even jinx it. Don't say a thing.
I've been thinking nothing but good thoughts about that bridge.
Just to make sure somebody is recording this, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so that's doing nothing. Why is this one doing nothing? I don't understand words. What is it doing?
Sound. No echoes.
Hello.
Yes! Yes, it works! Yes, 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 yes.
The
Yes.
Drogon's got echoes.
Yes. Um, there should be no echoes. I need to check. Oh, Okay. Okay. Let us know when you hear me or anyone else. Right, and we're gonna do a test. I'm gonna speak, then I'll. Okay. This is me. This is Cerberus Films. I'm speaking. Paul, say something. Cool. Cast.
I'm not speaking your lines.
Cool. And KF.
Hello.
Okay, that'll do. Now, I hear myself. I hear myself live. This is good. Do I keep hearing more? Not hearing Paul.
Yes, I just heard your last.
Right. We just need to test that. Okay. Let us know when you. I hear myself in someone's speakers. Me or anyone
That would probably be mine.
else. Okay. Right, and we're gonna do a test. I'm gonna speak. Then okay. This is me. This is Cerberus Films. I'm speaking. Paul, say something. I'm speaking. Paul, say something. Cast.
I'm not speaking.
We can't hear Paul. Cool. And yeah. Right. So now the issue is
Paul is dead.
Paul is dead. No, I do. When you speak, can you see the same thing going up and down that when I'm speaking? Okay, hit the. Okay. And you've got microphone.
How about now?
Aha. Can
yeah,
you?
but I'm doubling.
You're doubling.
To me, I am.
Why are you doubling?
I just unmuted microphone. Let's.
You mean you unmuted? Well, apparently you're just very quiet. Yeah. Tell you what then. Simple solution. Open another audio repeater. Wave in is your mic, your microphone. Hold on. Can you hear Paul properly now? No doubling here. Yeah, but yeah, no. I'm trying to talk to the chat for a sec because they're 1 minute behind. So if they're hearing you, now everything's quiet. About unmuting the what? Can they hear me? Keep talking for a minute, Paul. But that's good. Oh, of course, yes. Right. Well, what we could do is change. What we could do is close it all. You change your default playback device to be your speakers. you just keep your speakers turned off, and then you won't be able to hear anything coming out of XSplit, but you'll be able to hear. Everything will work. Change it in your Yeah, in your playback devices, but you need to close XSplit. Yeah.
And bitrate is climbing. Yes, we're back at 6,000. It looks like we're starting 45 minutes late. But we'll do it all over again and make it a good show. That's going to be my topic, is technical difficulties. Baz is rating us already. Good thing I hyped it all up today. This is really what I didn't want to happen, but excellent. I'm going to starting soon. Oh, you gotta be kidding. Do I need... Remove it? Okay. Okay. Alright.
He's not gonna be
Add
right
it back in.
I did.
Right.
Do you...
Okay.
Are we on... This one's not muted, so...
Right. This
Do
should
I
work.
have to have this audio repeater open now, or can I... Oh, I never started it anyway.
What?
The second
That's the
audio
issue.
repeater? No. I got the
Oh,
the
right. The
initial
first
one.
audio repeater.
The second one we don't need,
Okay.
right?
Second one we don't need now.
All right, let me shut that off. I mean, it wasn't started anyway.
Yeah. That's fine then.
No, I never stopped the other one. Well, I'm glad you can hear me,
Okay.
everyone.
Yeah, I can hear myself, I think.
We hear, says Baz. They hear you. All right, we're up.
Yes. Right, okay, let's go back to stream. We'll start soon. We'll be back
Okay.
in a moment, guys. We're just waiting for Kirkvat to come back, and then we can start.
Awesome.
And we're
This is a
You
test.
live,
Is
we
conducting a
live,
test
deal
of
with
the
it.
emergency broadcast system.
Call just made me drive off. Every day.
Drive Time UGC.
Let's not start that mental breakdown
It's
again.
an experiment.
Well, with the Foundry, we can probably agree on what the biggest bugs are right now.
News, information, or instruction. This concludes this test of the emergency broadcast system.
Hello and welcome to Drive Time UGC, episode 2, live! Only 43 minutes late. Booyah! We're like doing well. I think Primetime UGC, the first time we aired it live, was quite late as well. Anyway, I'm Cerberus Films, and joining me tonight, I have, sitting over there doing all the technical wonderful things as I'm shouting at him and telling him to do different things, is Captain PF Dennis.
Hello, everyone. I'm glad this is going to live up to the hype. Anyway,
Over there in the other corner is Kirkvat, who has been lovely and patient and stuff.
Hello, Stoke community.
And over there in the dark corner, this has 3 corners now, apparently. I don't know where I'm sitting, but hey-ho. In the other corner, we have Cast Modian.
Blast it, man. I'm still a Foundry author, not a podcaster.
And you've had more chance to rehearse that now as well, haven't you?
It helps.
I think they can actually hear us as well, so this is all good. So, Drive Time UGC, as with the pre-recorded episode we did, is our podcast audio-only supplement to Primetime UGC, even though it's not quite audio-only. It's got like some enhanced features, we like to call them. Hence, a lovely star field on a view screen. You'll see that coming into action later. See, I'm doing things now. So we have a couple of topics tonight, and bear with us if we are a bit weird, because this is the first time we're doing this live. Shall we jump into our big topic, or shall we do a host topic first? What are you guys' thoughts?
Let's do the big topic.
yeah, why not?
Okay. Well, we talked a bit about it in our previous episode, is the Foundry in Neverwinter. And what we thought we'd do is go and have a look at, poke about in it, see what it does, how it reacts, and blah-de-blah-de-blah, and then see what we wanted to bring back from it into Star Trek Online. Or, as Kirkvat put it, what we don't want to be into Star Trek Online. So, who wants to start us off with something that they found that they would like to see?
Object limits.
Do you want to expand on that a little bit?
The object limits in the Neverwinter Foundry are roughly twice what we have presently in Stowe.
Mm-hmm.
And
I think it's more than that with the details. It's something like 1,500 details.
Yeah, it's 1,500 details if I remember correctly.
okay, then 3 times. But yeah, do you know the kind of damage I can do to a person's graphical processing unit with that kind of detail level?
Dude, you've played my killer map test, haven't you?
That
The
would
one with all
be.
the Borg effects.
I refuse to answer that because that would be admitting to playing a Foundry mission.
So true, so true. But don't talk to me about killing people's computers. But no, I completely agree. I've put with the little bit I've done with Neverwinter Foundry, the stuff that you can do with that thing is just incredible as far as plain objects on the maps are. But you kind of need that with their grass, because they let you put down individual blades of grass And let me tell you, you can easily fill up, or you can easily put down 1,500 blades of grass.
I admit that. I guess the other side to that would also be object groups, because I can put down trees in object groups really quickly, and that eats that budget.
Shall we explain a bit what object groups are?
That would be a perfectly good segue.
See,
in
I'm
the
used to
Neverwinter
this stuff.
Foundry, there are, like, trees are a great example. There are groups of trees that you can place on the map, and each individual group consists of roughly 20 objects inside the group that are all manipulatable. So you can put one tree group on the map and then have 20 trees to move around and populate your forest in the shape you want. Whereas the closest equivalent we have group-wise are crates, which are one static object, which you can't move around. That's the biggest difference. But conversely, that counts as one object versus 20 objects. So it's pick your poison. But with an expanded object limit, hint, hint,
It would be a bit easier. I was actually wondering, from what you've seen so far, does the expanded object limit actually seem to make any sense as far as objects being less complex? From what you guys have seen, if that makes sense. Because, like, you can have a really complicated mesh in Star Trek Online. I don't know, what's the most complicated object you can think of that we have in the Foundry?
The most complicated?
As far as like a resource hog?
Yeah, that
Yeah.
you would imagine would be a massive resource hog.
Starburst.
The
Excluding the
starburst
effects.
or the teleport effects.
I'm thinking excluding the effects, just as plain
The firelight.
meshes.
Yeah,
Well-
the starburst and the scanning beams.
No, I mean literally like an object rather than like an effect.
Well,
which-
in that case,
Yeah, well, those are
start with
objects.
Borg objects.
Yeah.
yeah, Borg objects
Your-
is
your
sort of thing I'm
Borg
thinking.
cubes.
Yeah, yeah. Which I
Borg cube being the object cube and not the actual
not the
starship.
actual
cube.
NPC. So, do you think that or at least from what you've seen, are the objects any less complex in Neverwinter? At least like 3 times less complex to adjust for the 3 times the object limits.
What I've run into, things like trees. Trees are easy enough to adjust around. The buildings, the exterior building structure parts, because that's another thing they have, is that you can build manor houses pretty much from little building blocks. Those align just about as annoyingly as anything we try to align in Star Trek Online. And that's probably one of the more complex physical objects that you can put on a map. Of course, last time I was dealing with it, there were a number of columns that just would not go down to certain geometry levels no matter what you did. They just kind of hovered at a set point. So
Okay.
But those detail limits are nice, and it's also nice that it has a counter that counts down how many you have left.
Oh yes.
So you don't have to multi-select the entire map just to figure out, well, how close am I to 475?
yeah, whereas Stows will tell you how many objects you've used, but it will tell you how many objects you use between all your maps, including any maps you delete and or don't bother using. So you'll end up with several thousand objects, whereas you actually want to know how many you used on that one map you've been working on.
Yeah.
Yeah, not very useful.
Going back a bit to the prefabs or the object groups, they introduced like literally you can place down a village. There's a pre-made village or there's a pre-made road because they have lots of little path segments, but they literally have like a road that may be 50 objects, but it spans a 50-meter piece of road, which is cool, and it gives you a lot of customization. But my fear is that if they brought that into Star Trek Online, they'd do it with everything, so that instead of giving us big pieces that we can chop and change, just big pieces that we can put down, they'll give us lots of little pieces that will eat into an object limit, as opposed to one big solid thing that you can put down.
Yeah, that's one thing I noticed too. Well, I didn't see very many platforms or really building block type materials. I mean, I'm sure there are tops of buildings that people can use in other assets, but they want Neverwinter founders to build in the sky.
Yeah.
Despite the fact that there are Nevertheless structures, but that's getting into a whole nother canon.
Yeah.
And they don't have cannons in Neverwinter.
Don't they? Nowhere? That's a shame. They do have dragons, though. I
Which
wouldn't
are better
mind a
than
dragon.
cannons.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind a dragon in Star Trek Online. I think we should have dragons.
No, we
Space
might
Goat
be
before
getting 'em.
Space Dragon.
If you count the Voth, who I'm sure are coming.
Oh, that's true. Yes.
Well, we're getting somebody Voyager enemy-wise.
Yeah, it's
True.
them.
So it means no
Almost
Shellyak.
positive.
Oh yeah, what's the map limit like on Neverwinter?
I
Can anyone
believe
remember?
it's
No,
the
I never tested it.
same.
I should actually probably check that myself right now.
I'm not even sure what STOs is anymore. Didn't they up it?
10.
It's still,
still
10,
10.
or did they go above 10? I thought they went above it.
If they
Not
went
that I know
above
of.
10, then one thing I'm working on will be a heck of a lot easier to deal with. But
If I'm not mistaken, they did. I think they upped the map limit. I don't want to make a fool of myself, but I'm pretty sure I had a conversation with somebody about this. And I'll start it right now, and I'll find out.
Can anyone in chat confirm this?
As far as I knew, it's always been 10.
Yeah, I thought
Yeah.
so too. But let me just check.
Because they did up it from, what was it, 8 before? Was it 6? And then it
It's
became
always
10.
been 10.
But that was
Oh,
years ago. Maybe I'm thinking way back.
Well, I'll
Anyway,
find out in a
though,
second.
what else do people want in the Foundry? Neverwinter.
The one thing that really impressed me was the 3D editor. I guess Dan
Means
Stahl
the
referred
nudge.
to as nudging, right? But I mean,
Yeah.
the
if,
nudger.
it's basically very similar to if you've ever played Gary's mod, which was a Half-Life 2 modification. Have any of you guys played that?
Yeah.
It's on
It's
sale
now
on Steam
everything.
right now.
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
excuse me.
it basically allowed you to, in a three-dimensional environment, spawn an object. But, well, with Neverwinter's Foundry, you have to put the object on the map first and then go in. But that might change. But you can pick the object up, you can rotate it on its X, Y, and Z axes in real time, move it around, manipulate it, put it where you want it to be, and then push a button and it puts it there, which is really, really nice. I mean, it would save us so much time going back and forth between the editor if we had that feature. I did notice some weirdness with the camera in Neverwinter. Whereas if you're just a Foundry toon and you're walking around and you want to manually manipulate an object, you have to select it with your target icon, which freezes your camera in the position where your target icon looks at the object. And so there's a lot of wackiness there with Neverwinter's camera, but I think if that feature came into Star Trek Online, it would be so useful to us in building maps and building castles and just nudging things around where we want them to be.
Yeah. I like it in many ways, but at the same time, it's the problem with it is you can only select one one object at a time. You can only move one object, and then you have to reload the map and preview. You have to reload the preview.
You can switch objects, though. I mean, you can move one object and then pick a different object to move. So
Can you?
Yeah, I did that today. It's a little
I missed
wacky.
that.
It kind of requires you to go in and out of free cam mode,
Oh,
which is something that I think Neverwinter authors, if they really want to build, they have to constantly switch between the toon view and the free cam mode in order to use that 3D preview really well.
yeah.
Which is a reason I think why they should have a free cam button on that Winter 3D editor, because I was constantly having to type in UGC free cam 1, UGC free cam 0 to pick a different object to move around. But it was a really useful, handy feature.
Yeah, I suppose it's of course more like we should just macro it. Like every Foundry author should just have a macro keyboard where they can just press that button. Yay, free cam. I just found the detail budgets in Neverwinter. If you want me to run those down, we have 1,500 details.
Which include FX, right?
I believe so. Yes. 500 actors. 50 NPCs. 50 rooms, 100 doors, 100 fake doors, 20 AI nodes, 500 clusters, 50 encounters, 150 markers, 50 part, 100 patrol points, 1 respawn point, 20 sound effects, 1 spawn point, where are we? 20 teleporters, 50 traps, 200 trap emitters, 200 trap targets, and 50 trap triggers. And that's the budget.
One respawn point?
Yeah. No, one respawn point.
Wow.
Yeah. That's a little weird to me.
Yeah, that's strange.
I think it's a bit weird,
Because
especially
Those
considering
maps are
it's-
big, too. I mean,
Yeah. And especially considering that it's the game that it is, it's a brawler. You are fighting things.
It might be 1 respawn point per map.
Yeah, that's all one map, yeah. But even still.
So, with multiple encounters per map, I mean...
It means you have to be judicious and not spam attack.
Yeah, but what happens then? If you die, you're dead? I mean...
Well, no, you can respawn back at that point on the map.
Yeah, you'd be at the beginning of the map again.
It's the good old life sucks, then you die, and then the game resurrects you.
But just for the record... Oh, go ahead.
No, the two things I think we would have the problem with if one respawn point is, one, you can't do... well, you could do one of those, the trick where we currently teleport people in STO, where you walk past the respawn point, then you spawn a block or something on top of you, and you teleport to the nearest safe zone, which is the respawn point, if I'm remembering that correctly. Is that right? Yeah?
Is that the Pendra trick?
Yeah, and I think a couple of other people have used it as well. Then there's also the like if you closed off, if you completely altered the map somehow, like you closed off a cave, etc., and the respawn point was back at the other end of the map or was behind that cave in, you'd have the issue of getting them all through the cave in, then it being all janky and weird and stuff. So I can see a couple of issues with that. And dead air.
Yeah, well...
one feature that I think I'd really like to see in STO is the sounds. I mean, that's got to be easy for our devs to do. I mean, they could put in invisible objects that have sounds associated with them, and that would be adding sounds to the Foundry that we could turn on and off whenever we wanted to.
Well, we have got that to some extent, because they've just put in... it was the last big Foundry... Well, it was with this season, wasn't it? This with Legacy of Romulus.
Yeah, it seems
They-
like they're preparing for it. We don't really have it
Yeah.
yet because there's no list of actual sounds except for
Or
the
they
ambient.
forgot to comment
except-
it off.
Yeah.
But it is in there, so we can see that sort of coming in. But what Neverwinter has is, instead of having invisible objects, they have specific sound objects
Right.
as special objects, like a respawn point is a special or a spawn point is a special. They have a sound object.
In
Which
that
you can-
case, give me a red alert klaxon.
Yes.
Mhm.
And I think they it also has relative distance, so it will get louder the closer you get to it.
Yes, it does.
That's nice.
And yeah, and you can play like if you go into a room in Neverwinter, you can say that as you get closer and closer to it, like you're hearing more nasty, horrible sounds.
Right, and it triggers as you can set it to trigger as you enter the room as
Mhm.
well. I mean, it can put it on a
It
place
plays
marker
or
or
it
something.
stops. Yeah, exactly. I think that kind of leads on to the thing that I really want to see. Is two things I really want to see is, first of all, visibility, which in Neverwinter they have traits like in D&D you have a I don't know how many people have played Dungeons and Dragons. But if you're trying to inspect something or look for something, you roll a dice. If you have a high enough skill set in, say, vision or whatever it is, you might spot a trap or something like that. In Neverwinter, they have various traits that are usually class specific. Yeah. So, like religion, like the cleric can use religious artifacts and things like that. But they also have it so that if you can see an object or hear a sound, if the player has Arcana or Dungeoneering or Nature or Religion or Thievery, those skills. And I'm not quite sure how that could apply into STO, but I just think that's a fantastic thing, is that we could there would be something that a player has, whether it be a Romulan or if we do have traits actually now, don't we? In STO. So I suppose there's something there already. If they were telepathic, they might be able to hear or see or some extra plot point will come up. I don't know. I think that's a fantastic little thing that we could have. Along the same as with the skill, there's also visible if player has item, and this is the big this is the big thing to me. And I've spoken a little bit about it before, but you can create items in Neverwinter, and by creating an item, literally all it is it's an icon, and it has a name and it has a description. That's it. You can't create a physical object. It's literally just something you can pick up and put into your inventory. But you can, in triggers, then look at that trigger can look to see if the player has this item in their inventory. So say you had to pick up a pad somewhere. Then you could pick up that pad, go to a door, and the door would then see, oh, you have that pad, I'll open up for you. That sort of thing. I think that's fantastic. But the really big thing is that you could have at a branching objective, you could see, this person chose to do this. Okay, we'll give them this item. Or they chose to do this, we'll give them item B as opposed to item A. Then the next point where you'd want to bring in item A or item B as a plot point, you would search the mission would search the player. If they had item A, then they chose plot point A, therefore the mission dialogue changes to show that it's plot point A. And we could do that all with pop-up triggers and everything, and it's just a better way of doing branching objectives, rather than us, every time we go to a new map, we have to have the player enter in a code.
Yeah, because
No,
it
I'm sure
varies over from map to map.
Yeah. Exactly.
And I really like that, even for the simple reason that we need those things as props in the Foundry to begin with, like the med kits and the tricorders and all those types of items that a player could pick up.
Mm-hmm. That would be fantastic. And these items, the other thing is, if you had a pad, say you picked up a pad, and then in your inventory, you'd have a little description of what it says. So you could write onto it, the pad contains information about blah blah blah, and then it gives you a list of things. It could even be used as like a helper thing for a puzzle. So say you put in a really complex puzzle, but the player went around and they could go and collect various pads or various artifacts which had information on them to bring them back. They could then put that all together, and that would be the puzzle solved. If that makes sense, just makes it easier and sort of adds a whole new thing to it.
Yeah, it's a game changer. It's incredible. I mean, it'd be as close as to a branching storyline as we could possibly get under the current system.
Yeah.
People in the chat are sort of talking about DOFs being the possibility. As in, like, you could, if you had a certain duty officer, then you could hear or see something. What do you think about that?
Personally,
Oh, yeah.
I think it gates things a little too much, because if you set it to trigger off, say, I don't know, an Elilorian bartender, not everybody has that.
Yeah, but it'll be, I think, as far as that goes, that's a little bit of extra information. Like, if, because in Neverwinter, if you use it currently and you say it's a quest objective, but only someone with thievery can see it, then you're boned and no one can actually go through that unless they have thievery. So I think we'd have to apply the same principles to STO. It's only extra information.
And you couldn't make it a vital part of the story either, or else half the people who play it wouldn't be able to proceed.
Yeah, you couldn't have any level mission and play it as a level 5 character because you don't have DOF missions.
Mm-hmm. True. Mm-hmm. The other thing would be if you had different genders, and this is going to vary. Like, you could, I know some players have had romantic missions, or they've had, like, they wanted, if they refer to them as him, or if they refer to them as her, or they go to a gentleman's club, or they go to a spa.
Are you singling out Kirkvat?
Yes.
Prell's Gentleman's Club.
I just think that giving us items and giving us the ability to check to see if that item if they have that item or if they have a trait, I think that is the game changer to me. If they don't put in anything else, that's what I want.
Yeah.
Anything
we want
else
everything.
that people see?
Well, not everything, but everything we're discussing anyway.
The only other thing I wanted to mention that I really liked, and there's also a lot that I really didn't like, but hopefully we can talk about that more, is the inspect. When you put an object on the map and you put interact with the object in the storyboard, there's a box for object dialogue. And so after a player interacts with the object, a simple black, no costumed pop-up dialogue shows information, any information you want to read, such as you have found a scroll and the scroll tells the story of the great wizard, blah, blah, blah. And it's a black pop-up dialogue that follows interacting with an object that has no costume. And we've wanted something like that for a very long time.
Oh, yeah.
Well, the difference is, though, in Neverwinter, you don't have a costume as such for dialogue, because if you interact with an NPC, the camera zooms in and it shows the person you're talking to, but as themselves. There's no extra. There's no change of NPC or anything. You have to talk to that one person. There's no one else.
And you can't specify a different costume in a branching dialogue?
Not that I know of.
Oh my god.
I can
that's
check
restrictive.
I mean, how... Yeah, that's really restrictive. I mean, that combined with the fact that there are no pop-up dialogues or blue bubbles that you can put in either the storyboard and add directly on the map, that means in order to tell a story for Neverwinter's Foundry, you have to make the player walk to a person, walk to another person, walk to an item, walk to a person, walk to an item, walk to a person. And that's how you would have to tell a story in Neverwinter.
Yeah. Which I think comes down to the fact that Neverwinter is an entirely different game, and the Foundry isn't really designed for story in Neverwinter.
So you think they don't want people telling stories, they just want people to shoot goblins?
I don't think it's that they don't want them to. I think it's more that it's designed for dungeon quests. And it's designed for dungeon runs. That doesn't mean that you can't put in story, and I have played a couple of missions where there's great story. You just can't have multiple people talking, which is stupid. But
Yeah.
I
It could be
allegedly
schizophrenic.
played some, and they were in French.
yeah, but hang on. We'll put in a mature rating on this. Tell us what you said when you were playing those.
I will not repeat those words in front of impolite company.
Since when are we polite?
I was. They were extremely long, extremely grindy. I had not encountered any of the character types that half of the mobs had been reskinned as, and they were literally just wiping the floor with me with powers I had never encountered and had no counter for. And I was just getting increasingly frustrated because literally it was... I get a lot of reviews on Keeping Up with the Gisens for the last mission that I added, section that I added in, where people get jumped before they're done reading the dialogue by a bunch of fighters. And people say that mission, that the end of the mission is just way more than they can handle. This was what I did there to 11. I mean, I walked in. There's a NPC type in Neverwinter that its special ability is basically, if anybody's ever played Mortal Kombat, they know there's a character in there called Scorpion who would shoot out this rope snake thing and pull you back to him. Literally, that's what this power did. They put a room with 3 of these large, thick beasts that did that, and you just kept getting chain hit by this, so you couldn't respond to it, whereas they're just beating the living tar out of you. So, yeah, I was more than a little frustrated. And, yeah, we'll leave it at that.
It was quite interesting. It was colourful language. It's very colourful.
If by colorful you mean blue.
Wow. I just had a quick look at an object again, and I noticed I picked up on this earlier, but I forgot to say objects in Neverwinter can also be made as contacts. So you can go up to them, and they're interactable, but you can also say that they're a contact. So you can go up to them and talk to them, and have a full advanced dialogue within just an object, which is nice.
Why am I talking to this board?
It's the
Well, I mean, I
talking
guess-
board of +3 armor.
I guess it comes down to there are very few. I mean, at the end of the day, there are very few things we do need from Neverwinter
Yeah.
because the objectives are so different that some of the features would be nice to have, but we don't want that Foundry.
Yeah, I mean, my overall impression is that the Neverwinter Foundry has some great building features, ways that authors can build maps and make really cool sets, but as far as telling stories, I think we have a superior Foundry.
Definitely.
Yeah.
I mean, I can't imagine trying to write a mission without pop-up dialogues or blue bubbles you add to a map. I mean, their Foundry also doesn't have things like complete all objective. You have to complete one objective after another after another. There's no way to add multiple objects on a dialogue with or interact with objective.
You can actually.
Can you?
Yeah. It's a different way of doing it. Instead of dragging it on top of, You just drag you drag the objective to a little plus button on the other side.
Oh, okay. I missed that then.
It's not exactly self-explanatory. It's a bit weird.
Right.
Well, I think that's also a big thing about the Neverwinter Foundry interface is, in many ways, it's...
Tribal knowledge.
Well, yes, but if you're used to modding tools, perhaps, it might be a bit easier to understand.
Mm-hmm.
Because the way things look, it looks like it's a third-party program. It looks like it's it's clean, it's crisp, it's utilitarian in look in many ways. It's not a friendly-looking thing.
Yeah.
But it is, like, you click on something and out pops the inspector. Like all the information. I'll get a screenshot and then Paul can put that into can insert that because we have that technology, you know. But it's not very. I don't know. Actually, I can't get a screenshot, but you know, it's. Yeah, I don't. What's the way of describing it? Can anyone think?
I think utilitarian was a nice word.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's also unforgiving. Like, you can't move stuff around. Like, when you manually adjust the X, Y, and Z coordinates, it has this big white box that just covers your map. And you can't move it around. You can't resize anything. You can't... You just can't move stuff out of the way when you want to move stuff out of the way. So it seems very kind of, this is how you do this.
Right. And
Yeah.
the funny thing is, they considered that an improvement when it first opened up, and for testing, it was almost exactly like STOs.
yeah. I
that's-
liked that in many ways.
It's just not an improvement for me as a builder to have a big white box cover my map when I'm trying to manually
No.
edit the X, Y, and Z values of a thing, because it also pops up right next to the object. So let's say you're trying to move an object down the X value to line it up to something else. Well, you have this big white box covering where that other object is, and there's no way to move the big white box. So it's unforgiving.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and it was designed too, specifically for their, for the D&D objectives, obviously, because we have a whole other, we have space, which Neverwinter doesnn't have. So in order to design for our foundry, it's a totally different animal.
Mm-hmm.
So
But I
a
think
lot of
Paul's
it-
right that there are very few things we need, and there's quite a few things we probably don't want. Like, I'm sure we probably all agree we don't want the costume creator.
No.
Oh well.
I mean, it's
yeah.
pretty awful. I mean, it really is pretty awful where you can't make a custom NPC. You just have to use and modify these existing NPCs.
But the one thing they do have is that they have everything.
Yeah,
Every
well, that's what-
asset.
I am so
And you-
jealous of the amount of assets they have. That's one thing we definitely need. But
I mean, you can
You
even
know.
make someone's face flayed. Like, literally, they have no flesh on their face anymore. It has just been flayed off. And then they have weird things called XXX old, do not use XXX eyebrows. Or you can put a wolf helmet on. Like, literally, it's the wolf's skull, and I can make the fangs red.
right.
It
Yeah,
is
maybe I just
so...
haven't messed around with it.
No, there are
enough.
just so many variables that it's incredible. You don't even know where to begin.
But you
But
are right,
I understand what Kirkvat's saying. The
Yeah.
styles of NPCs are limited. You can't,
Yeah.
You don't have the
You have-
sliders you get.
you have to base it off of an NPC, but you do get sliders. You do get like every single slider. However,
But the key is in the costume choices. There are just so many.
yeah, I think actually they give too many costume sliders too many body sliders for Neverwinter's use anyway. I don't think they need all that because it becomes really difficult to make something. I mean, you have so much customization that it actually becomes difficult to to create what you're wanting to. It becomes difficult to create something that looks natural and fresh. It would be great for our alien creator to be able to control absolutely everything.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah.
But yeah. But as you
thinking
said,
of, the flayed face for zombies. I mean, think about it.
yeah. I mean, they have a zombie face in this. But yeah, giving us just all these costume options. That's all we need. Just all those costume options.
I just want to be able to recreate Cupid.
What?
Klingons in medieval outfits saying they're not merry men.
Wow.
One thing we haven't talked about that I'm surprised we haven't talked about is the room creator, the interior builder. Have you guys had a chance to mess around with that? I mean, I really haven't.
I have.
And I'm taking you didn't like it?
Well, I'm in two minds. I like it in Neverwinter. It's good. If you're wanting to create something like a starbase, or just a plain, simple ring around a ship, it's fine. And I emphasize it's fine, being the operative word, fine. What I would prefer, though, is that because at the moment, when you go and create an interior map in Neverwinter, like a custom interior, as they call it, you get blocks that you can place down. Like, literally, they have rooms that you place down. Which is, it's fine for that. Like, if you want to build a tavern, there you go. You have a tavern map, essentially, already built that you just drop down, you plop a corridor in there, it automatically generates a door, boom, there you go. You have a room, you have a tavern, you have a corridor. You can even auto-populate, like if you right-click on one of those rooms, it will then populate the room. Like it will just fill it with the objects that should be in there. So if it's a tavern room that you chose, it will populate it with all the objects that a tavern has, which is cool, and it would save some people loads of time. I don't like that just because I would never use that. I like to be very specific with what I put in my rooms.
It just feels like it takes the creativity out of things, right? I mean,
yeah, that does. But
it's one thing to make things more user-friendly, but it's another just to, I don't know.
It becomes lazy.
It becomes lazy, yeah.
I stayed away from bringing it up, mostly because it is probably the single most intensive Star Trek developer
Yes.
item there is, because right now none of this exists. You would literally have to create a starbase corridor, a starbase room, various starship corridors and rooms, and that's from the ground up. You have to create the meshes, you have to do all of that stuff, and
they
then
also
if they
all have to
include-
match up, and they all have to have door ports on them. Like every room here has specific points where doors can go in and can't go in.
Right.
All that sort of stuff.
Yeah, I don't think we'll ever get anybody on the schedule to do something like that for us. I mean, despite Dan Stahl's comment on Priority 1 that, that's one of his favorite features of Neverwinter's Foundry. I mean, I'm really skeptical that it would ever
favorite
happen,
feature does
right?
not necessarily mean
Right.
Best feature.
Right, and the code has to be
what-
compatible anyway.
I just feel like I
This
feel
is
like
the
there's
whole
so much
reason
that they
we're-
could. Sorry, go ahead, Cass.
Sorry, I was going to say, this is the whole reason we're here discussing this, is what we would like to see versus what is feasible.
Right. So that's a question: is what is feasible? What do you guys think we'll actually see?
Well, just to finish up on the interior editor, if I may, who was it who just said it? I think, Green Dragoon just said what I always say about the editor, is that it's capable of basic interiors, but it's not what we want for custom interiors. Like, what I would love to see, though, instead of an interior editor, is giving us all those assets, giving us a corridor, giving us the rooms and all that jazz, but don't restrict us to an interior editor.
Yeah,
give
I
us
agree with that.
give us the freedom to put them on outdoor maps. To
Right, just building blocks.
exactly
Or-
building blocks that we can then put all our stuff into, or give us the walls, give us the floors, give us
Or
the
just-
interior walls, all that
Or
stuff.
just
take
give us
the-
a blank map, a geometry-less flat map that we don't have to do some of the stuff we have to do. It's just a black space.
The issue with that would be we'd need all the sky maps. But then again, why don't we have all the backdrops? We should. If we had all the backdrops, that's not too bad.
Right, what we need is like a list of platforms of different sizes. Then we should be able to tailor the texture so that we can put carpet on it, or it's a glossy floor. But we don't need a million different kinds of platforms. We just need one with the ability to change the texture.
Yeah, that's always been my idea, is just list one of each building block, so you don't have 3 100 by 100, you just have one 100 by 100, and when you click on it, it brings up a menu of textures. It could be
Just-
grass, it could be rock.
Just guessing on this, you would still end up having. You may not see it up front, but you'd probably still have to have all of those objects created.
Right.
Yeah.
Because if you figure it's all in an array, you can select your chameleon object, but you're still going to have to pull through a menu of your carpet ones, and they're all
It
still going
may-
to have to exist.
It may
Sure.
not be changing the texture, depending on the way that the Foundry would work. It may not change the texture; it would just swap out the object.
Right. And
Basically, what's meaning.
yeah,
Hang on. Green Dragoon is basically saying everything that I've. Oh, I realise why he's saying that because I talked to him about it on Roundtable. That would make sense. He's echoing everything I've said before. It's the things like giving us it lacks any vertical design currently. At the Neverwinter Foundry, you can't go vertical in the interior editor, and that's what I'd like to see in the rooms. Also, if they gave us things like the big rooms, then we could create proper crashed starships. And if we combine the rooms and the the nudge, the 3D editor, that you can rotate things in space, you can rotate them on the X, Y, and Z axis, then we could literally put a starship smashed into the ground. We could have everything could be at an angle,
Right.
all that sort of thing. That would be kind of cool. I would love to see that one day. It may be a bit of an issue in that you'd then have to walk up slopes, which isn't exactly a good thing in SEO. But
Yeah. Plus, it also becomes more complicated for the user. The more technical it becomes, the harder it is, the less user-friendly it becomes.
I would say just give us don't even just give us rooms. Give us all the objects that are in that room. Just give us the building blocks for it. And then we can do even more.
or if they just took the interior and chopped it up into pieces. Like, I don't know if that's technically possible for a dev to do, because it might all be
not.
one piece, right?
Yeah.
But
That's probably how they're doing it anyway.
yeah,
But
but it would be nice.
Yeah, it would be very nice. Is there anything... Oh! The thing that we haven't talked about. Well, two things. One, teleporters.
Oh, yeah. It'd just
Yes.
be a transporter.
Well, even more than that, it could be used as a turbo lift.
True.
Like, just giving us an invisible object or something that you can go and you interact with it and it transports you to another part of the map. That's literally what a teleporter is. That's what
Right.
we've wanted for forever.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's fantastic.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the other thing is, have you guys seen the nodes, the AI nodes?
I saw them. I don't know how they work, though.
Basically, it's a
job.
yeah, it's a job,
Right.
but it's specific for combat. So you have ambush, you have guardian, you have sniper. If, say, you have a person with a bow and arrow in a mob group, but you also have a guardian type and a sneaky type. If you have all 3 AI nodes down, the arrow people will go to the sniper node, and so you place that down. That will be where where those people will. That's where those actors will go and stand when they enter combat. So say you have say you're giving them cover, for instance. That's one way of using it. You put down a broken bench, or you put down a wall, you put a sniper node behind it, they'll go and stand there and they'll snipe you from there. It sort of adds realism to it. Whilst an ambush, you may put it up on the cliff and they jump down and they attack you, or a guardian is just charging at you and killing you. I think that has a big place in STO.
Yeah.
But
Have you
it's
tested
not-
it to see if it works, though?
It does for the most part,
Okay.
from what I've seen. Anyway, yeah. It's a nice thing. I don't know whether it's a necessary thing.
Well,
I don't think it's a high priority for us anyway.
No, but I'll take it.
I agree with what Green Dragoon said actually about Neverwinter teleporters. That he says, I'm not sure I like how NW teleporters work. I want something that is triggerable. I suppose that means that it's something that's just triggered and it teleports you rather than you interacting with it.
Right.
Because at the moment
You don't have control over how it operates. It
Yeah.
just works one specific way.
At the moment, it's literally an entrance that you have to go and interact with that entrance, and it takes you somewhere.
Yeah, it's a tunnel.
Yeah, and you can go backwards and forwards between those.
Mhm.
So I suppose what he's really wanting is something that you can just click on, or it is literally a trigger that once this happens, you're teleported
Right.
somewhere else.
And you can't go back. Unless you want
Yeah.
to. Unless
Yeah. If we
program
should
it
have the
that way.
option to take them back if we want them to.
you should be able to
I like
toggle
that.
it.
So, anything else that anyone wants from the Neverwinter Foundry that you can think of?
Well, we
Devs.
mentioned them.
A team? A foundry team?
Yeah.
Can we have a foundry team,
The
please?
team would be nice. Yeah.
Well, I think what we might want to do then is go down what we've talked about and say which one, rank them in what we want to see, or in order of what we want to see, if everyone's agreeable to that. Yeah. So at number 1, what do we most want to see fastest as the biggest priority of getting it into the Star Trek Online Foundry from the Neverwinter Foundry? And
I
don't
would
say a
say-
team.
I'd say the number of assets.
Assets.
I'm going to say the 3D editor.
Okay. I would say the items myself. The items and those triggers. We'll do like our top 3 then, I suppose. What's second for each of you? So Paul,
Music and sound effects.
okay, cast,
Music and sound effects.
Kirkvat,
I'd say the assets.
okay. We'll go to top 4. Number 3, Paul.
All right, then I'm going to go with the items, like you said.
Okay. Cast,
Items.
Kirkvat,
Sounds.
right. And 4th, Paul,
Teleporters.
cast,
3D editor.
Kirkvat.
The tons of animations for the NPCs.
So you seriously don't want the items as a priority?
I do. It'll be
Yeah, it's a
number
tough
5.
call. I mean, we're just doing this off the top of our heads right now.
I'm still
Yeah.
trying to wrap my mind around how it would work with branching and different paths. So
It's basically
think
if you
this-
choose one path, if you choose one thing in a dialogue, it gives you this item, and then if you choose something else, it gives you item B. So then, when you get to the next dialogue, one branch opens up if you have item A. The second branch opens up, you have item B, and it
Most
carries over maps.
importantly, it carries over to the maps. That's what I was going to say.
Yeah,
that's
that's the biggest thing.
The big.
that's That's a big deal then.
Yeah.
This smells like it would be a great fat asset.
Oh, that's true. Yes.
Yeah.
Instead of fat assets, we have fat features.
Yeah.
All right, I'll work on it.
Awesome.
Coming in the future.
Yeah.
Next week on Primetime UGC. Oh, that's something we didn't mention actually. Drogan said campaigns.
Yes.
And Baz mentioned contacts becoming enemies.
Oh god damn it! Why do they have more stuff? Grr.
Just when we thought we could get away.
Should we
Yeah,
talk?
that's a
very
big
briefly about-
subject.
Yeah, let's just talk very briefly about campaigns. Who wants to
Campaigns
explain?
would be nice because some people like Paul could put a wrapper for class dismissed, and then when you're searching in the editor, or not the editor, the just the Foundry search tool, you'd actually be able to find all 3 class dismissed and not part 3.
Right.
Do they also have the ability to favorite authors, or is that just something that was talked about, never implemented?
It's kind
they-
of there. I don't
it is
know
kind of
how
there,
well
yes.
it works.
You can subscribe to an author, and then I think they just become a separate list at the moment. But they do plan on it being that they send you a notification every time there's a new mission by that author.
So it's not something that shows in your main UI. It's like maybe something that shows up in your mail.
No, currently, if you go to the Foundry and then you go to your subscribed authors, I believe, it will show you what is there.
Oh, that's
It will show you the newest things by those authors. But I think they're wanting it so it will send you a notification as well whenever they publish a new mission or a new quest, rather.
Mm-hmm.
Which is a nice thing if you want to follow an author.
Yeah.
And the other thing is NPCs becoming enemies and follows and all that sort of NPC behaviors, basically.
Yeah, that's huge.
Yeah.
That's my new number 2.
Yeah.
Could
Any
one of our-
animations? are
Could
key.
one of our loyal listeners who's listening to us as a VOD, or someone that has proper, amazing skills in listening, go back and take a note of what we said in our listening stuff? I don't know.
Well, it's being recorded, so we can always go
This is
back.
true. The ones of
It does
technology.
sound like a lot of our top picks are the same. I mean,
Yeah.
we
I
don't
think it's-
really expect the room creator, but there
We don't
are.
really want the room creator either. I think.
Yeah, I mean, if I just had the details and the props to work with, I would prefer to build in the sky. I always would, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Same.
But I
It's
thought
true,
this
too.
would
We're
be
used to doing things a certain way.
This is true.
Yeah.
But I think it's a good way as well. Maybe. I don't know. We'll see. So, shall we... there was one other thing that I was going to talk about. Oh, yes! Before we take a break, because we've been going for a while now, I wanted to very quickly bring up the subject of... what do they call it? It's gone from my head now. It's too hot in here. Oh, yes. There's a new 3D editor that they're going to be bringing in with Module 1, Feywild or whatever it is. That's their Season 1. It's called the 3D drag and drop editor. And
Okay.
details on what that means.
I shall just go and grab the link.
Just
but
the name sounds like, I mean, it sounds to me like the same thing that they have, but you can go to a library to find an asset and drop it into the map while you're on the map.
That appears to be what it is. Right, drag and drop 3D editor is saying the drag and drop update also allows Foundry authors to edit asset properties and place or move just about every asset in their quest from the 3D preview mode. So currently we can click on them and move them, but this would allow us to actually change their properties.
Whilst
in
in preview.
All in preview, yeah.
So it's kind of like Gary's mod.
Yeah, basically.
Which is, I think, what, 13 years old now?
Yeah, but
Just saying.
you know,
Yeah, but
They
Gary's
can-
mod is a local installation, yada yada yada. Completely
I know.
not the same.
completely different beasts.
Right.
Okay then.
While
Shall
we're on the subject
Sorry.
of Neverwinter, there is a website called DrivetimeUGC. It is a sister site of Starbase UGC, but most of the admins at Starbase UGC don't really care about Neverwinter. So if there's anybody out there who would really like to help out with this website, get it going, and if you're really into Neverwinter's Foundry, please come see us, because a lot of us aren't. So, yeah, please help, or else that website will be a ghost town.
It gets a couple of posts and a load of spam accounts. Okay then, shall we take a quick break and
Sure.
play some ads, which I hope everyone will enjoy, because, you know, stuff. And, yeah, we'll be back in a couple of minutes. I'm going to go grab a drink.
Hi, I'm Bazag, and I like to stab. Of course, I don't just stab people, but I stab ideas as well. Yes, you can stab ideas. Stabbing gets to the heart of the matter, and I like to do so with all sorts of matters related to the Foundry. And this is why I'm creating a new podcast called Bazag Stabs. Bazag Stabs will be covering everything from Foundry mission reviews to discussions about designing and developing your mission. I'll be talking about mission structure, storytelling ideas, and tutorials about including cool technical tricks. I also hope on occasion to take some cryptic employees hostage and force them at Plastic Knife Point to answer some questions. If you're interested in learning how to make a Foundry mission, or to make your Foundry mission better, Bazag Stabs is for you. So keep a lookout at Starbase UGC or Tavern UGC, and you'll never know what I might take a stab at next.
It's me again, Crazy Chalaski, and have I got some deals for you. This is my wildest sale ever. You have the best, now try the rest. You don't have to spend bars of your latinum when strips will get you the finest used slaves this side of Regulus. Sure, these babies have a little mileage on them, but one man's trash is another man's treasure, am I right? Yes, I am, because Crazy Chalaski's got deals that are just plain lunacy. I've got green ones, white ones, blue ones. I can't even name all the shapes and styles I'm offering you at absolutely nutty rock-bottom prices. I'm Crazy Chalaski, and if you're in the market for a pre-owned harlot, I've got her in my inventory. Take old Jamunga here. She can cough up a bucket of Dovamite phlegm all day, but it completely clears up by nightfall. That's when you really need her anyway, am I right? Of course I am, and she's just 8 strips. Go ahead and say it. Chalaski is crazy. Look at Valmay. She has absolutely no visible scarring, and she can be coherent for almost 90 minutes at a time. That's plenty if you know what I'm talking about. And this scratch-and-dead strumpet will only set you back 6 strips. Okay, 5 strips. I must be out of my mind. Of course I am. I'm Crazy Chulaski. Now, Gallus here has only had a single owner. That's right, just one owner. Since he died of some strange alien virus, you can get this sweetie for a song. Literally. Come down and sing to me and she's all yours. Why, you ask? Because I'm Crazy Chulaski. That's right, crazy, crazy, crazy Chulaski. And my prices are insane!
Crazy Chulaski is not responsible for any defects or medical anomalies, nor is he liable for any damages after purchase. And remember, all sales are final, no returns accepted. Don't forget to tune in to the Federation broadcast system on Thursday for the immortal Ken Burns as he presents his newest documentary on the Dominion War. The year was 2373. Enterprise E had chased the Borg back through time to protect First Contact. The Kazon had taken control of USS Voyager in the Delta Quadrant, but here, in the Alpha Quadrant, closer to home, brave Starfleet personnel were fighting off the Dominion, whose forces were bolstered by the Cardassians, who had joined them in their quest to destroy the Federation. Battle after bloody battle ensued in places like Rondak and Taurus, where we had lost so many brave souls. Dear Rondella, I woke this morning to the surprising news that I had been promoted to First Officer of the Montana. You know how long I've been waiting for that promotion. If I knew it would have taken the brutal death of Commander Vandrell at the hands of the Jem'Hadar, I'd have been happy being a lieutenant forever. I will honor him by being the best XO I can be, and to help to reduce these type of promotions. Too many good officers are being lost in this war, but we must prevail, lest we all become slaves to a puddle of shapeshifters. I count the minutes till we are together again. All my love, Albert. Now.
Hello and welcome back. That was a short break.
It was
I
fun, though.
I haven't even had time to pour myself a drink yet. Oh dear. Oh no, don't burst everywhere. Don't burst everywhere. Oh dear. I'm safe. I did not spray everything.
No spray? Okay.
No spray. Nope, no spray. I'm proud of my skills there. So, that was a nice little break, and now we're past the behemoth of a topic.
And Cerberus didn't even Sonia Gomez himself.
I'm missing a reference.
Oh, the infamous hot chocolate incident.
What? I'm
You're gonna have to
yourself a
explain
turkey.
that.
Well, we'll explain it to you off air.
Yeah,
Okay. I feel
Yeah.
stupid. I know I should know this.
Captain Picard, hot chocolate. Yeah.
I can't remember at the moment. It's probably the heat. It's warm in my room. Anywho, we have host topics. Well, we have a host topic anyway. So,
Yeah, I had one
You
thing
were-
I wanted to talk about. I don't know if we could even really talk about it for long, but it's trigger restrictions, right? When we put something in the story tab, we lose a lot of the trigger abilities that we have if something's not in the story tab.
Right.
So, for example, we can make an NPC appear and now disappear whenever we want if they're not part of a talk to contact objective. But as soon as they become part of that talk to contact objective, they can only be made visible while that objective is in progress. And there's been so many times when I'm building and I'm planning my missions and I'm going through all the motions of setting up the triggers, and I realize, crap, I can't do that because it's in my storyboard, or I have to figure out some big workaround to get it out of my storyboard to still make it useful. And I've been thinking about this lately, and I don't know why these restrictions are in place, other than kind of a way to tell us, hey, don't do something you can do a million other ways, right? So I think these restrictions are in place so that, like, if a contact is in your storyboard, then he has to be visible when that objective is in progress. And that I think is the rationale behind it. Like, you don't want to have an invisible contact when the task is to talk to the invisible contact.
Right, it breaks it.
But at the same time, I can take that contact and put him on a platform 300 meters in the air as a way to break my mission and make it where the player can't interact with an invisible contact. So I don't understand why all these restrictions are in place, because the justifications for them kind of don't add up.
Yeah, and if a lot of these things were actual objectives, it would really help for scanning, especially in space. You know, because when you just put stuff on the map, you know, in order to open up all these trigger options, they're not scannable.
Right.
And players
Or
get
you have
lost.
You have to put an invisible object instead and disguise it as the...
Right.
It is. It seems like there's so many times where I have to do these crazy workarounds just because of those restrictions, when they don't need to necessarily be there. And I think we're either going to make a mission that is dumb and broken and can't be finished because we designed it to be dumb and broken and can't be finished, or we can make a mission much better without those limitations. It just kind of feels like somebody's momming us, you know?
Yeah.
Could the argument be there that some of these things we wouldn't know would be broken unless they told us that they were broken?
Well, what do you mean? Like, I mean,
Like,
I think if we
we
play
wouldn't
tested our
realize.
map, we would probably find it broken if it was broken, right?
True. Yeah, I agree.
Apparently nobody's, as impassioned about trigger restrictions as I am.
No, I understand it. I just, the likelihood of them changing it anytime soon is definitely...
Yeah.
I mean,
And
I
it's
agree with
simple.
you. I wish they would give it to us tomorrow. Just open up everything. But it's always...
So basically what are you asking for, basically, in very simple terms?
The ability to make an NPC appear and disappear regardless of where he is in the mission storyboard.
Gotcha.
So, right, if I want to talk to somebody on a transporter pad, that shouldn't have to be my first task after making them transport, right? Having them appear on the transporter pad, then I go and check some data on a console, and then I talk to my bridge officers, and then I come back and I talk to the person on the transporter pad. We can't do that now. Because if they're in the mission storyboard, they can only appear when that objective is in progress. And it makes me mad.
Oh, you mean we can't have them appear before the objective in progress?
No, you can only have them there from the start of the map, meaning they're always there and they never went through a state change.
Oh.
Or you can make them appear when their objective is in progress, and when that talk to contact objective is in progress. It just seems like I go through crazy hoops to do things that I should be able to do already.
We should have the same options we have in the storyline as we do out of it.
Right.
And, we don't. And, if the reason is because they're worried about exploits, I don't think that's a concern.
Well, it's not
we have
an
enough of
exploit
those
because
regardless.
It's not an exploit because you couldn't complete it.
Right, I'm just saying. I mean, a lot of the excuses for not having things like NPCs disappearing was because they were afraid it would be exploited.
Well, it's a slightly different exploit as well. It was more they were going to stop. What they're talking about is they want to stop a... I'm trying to remember who it was that said it, but it's, say you're playing through a mission and
It
then
was
the
0,
author,
but go ahead.
yeah, then the author wants to say a player fails an objective, like that like this is the only way we could make them fail, is that NPC then disappears, and they can't talk to that NPC because it's in the mission. But we can already do that by just putting them down a 20-foot hole.
Right.
Yeah.
They can't. We can make them fall down a hole. They can't, or put up a force field or anything. And they can't talk to them. So yeah, I kind of agree that we can do it anyway. We can if we want to, we can stop a player from finishing a mission ourselves deliberately. Yeah, I agree with your point. There's no point in not having that option.
I do also want to talk about a certain wager I made with Cerberus.
Oh yes.
All right. So first, I'll let Cerberus start. Cerb, what is your long-term thinking on what the Foundry will look like in the next 3, 4, 5, or even 6 months?
We will have more features, and bugs will be fixed to a certain extent. We'll have some bugs fixed, and we'll have more features.
And by more features, you also mean things that are ported from Neverwinter.
Yeah, we'll have. But within the next 4 or 5 months, we'll have at least the first couple of things being ported in from Neverwinter.
And do you think there'll be big things like some of the things we've talked about tonight as our top 5?
Yeah, I think so. I think that we could easily have 1 or 2 of those things in within the next 4 or 5 months.
All right. So the wager
by the
is,
end of the year.
If Cerberus is right, then I will buy him a ship. Because I am very skeptical. I am very skeptical. Especially with the state of the game. I mean, the new state of the game doesn't even mention the Foundry. It mentions in-game. And I'm very skeptical that we're ever going to see this glorious return of the Foundry team to Stowe's Foundry to port over the codes and all that. I just think it's kind of become a myth at this point that I don't see any evidence that it's actually becoming a reality. So,
whilst there's me, who on the other side is looking at it all the way through, we've had, for the past year maybe, it's been said, we'll have stuff when Neverwinter is released. Neverwinter has now been released, but we have to give them time. So
Right.
we apparently set a deadline of 4 or 5 months or 6 months. By
I
the end
said
of the
4
year,
months. I said November, and that's it for me. I give up.
Okay, so Cryptic, don't fail me, otherwise a poor student is going to be even poorer.
all right, who's got the better bet according to the chat room?
Okay, so in a minute's time, for us anyway, we'll find out who do you think is right, Serb or Kirkvat?
The only response I have is shale.
Shale.
Yes, of course. Cryptic, put more things in the Foundry because it will sell more ships. That's an interesting argument, and I'm going to make that my host topic. There was an argument. It was something. It was an argument made. It must have been about a year ago now, or it may have been before, or it may have come up a few different times. It came with saying that the Foundry was. I would think it was players that were saying that the Foundry was advertisement for things in the game, and that's a reason to put new ships and new everything into the Foundry.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think about that?
I think that it would be great, but it has never happened before.
But do you think it actually is advertisement? Do you think that by putting those things into the Foundry, we'll have they'll sell more ships because they put it into the Foundry to advertise?
Yeah, it all depends on how many missions are played. I mean, they were a very small percentage of the player base. I don't know.
I think it also depends on how they implemented it. I think the most effective way they could do it is having some kind of mechanic where if you use say the Enterprise C or some ship. Well, the Enterprise C is free, so let's pick, I don't know, some ship in the C store. Use that in your mission, then there's a pop-up that happens automatically at the end of the mission with a link to the C store to purchase that ship. I think that's
If
probably
you liked getting your butt kicked by ship of the day.
right. Or, you play Hippie John's Spectres, and it says, this interior is available in this pack. Right? I think that would sell a lot of those packs. Because I think a lot of the people that play Hippie John Spectres are kind of like, wow, where's the set?
I think going on from that then, because I kind of like that idea, what do you think of giving the Foundry authors a certain percentage cut in dilithium? If they follow that link through from the end of their mission, if they buy that set or buy that ship or that costume, the player then gets the author then gets a certain amount of dilithium from Cryptic.
So it's a
As a tip.
percentage of the sale?
It might be a percentage, or it might be just a flat rate.
I think that sounds an awful lot like a commission and would run into possibly California laws, if not others.
Well, they do it in other games, don't they? I mean, you have players that, well, at least the players make content in other games that then other players can buy. I'm
Are
thinking
you talking
maybe,
about like INVU?
well, kind of. But I was more thinking along the lines of recent games like Dota 2 or things like that, where you either craft things or you can buy certain you craft things or you sell loot, and on Steam you can actually sell those in theory for real money, if I'm right, or I may be wrong, but I don't think I am. Can someone in the chat confirm that? But aside from legal issues, do you think that is a good idea?
At this point, I think the focus of the game is on generating money. And the focus of the dev team is on making stuff and giving players buckets that generates money. And if we're wanting anything significant done with the Foundry, it has to align with that focus, because the people who make the decisions on who gets what task to do what are not worried about our ability to create great stories for the enjoyment of players. They're worried about revenue.
Right.
Well,
and making
it's
players
keeping-
sink more and more junk into buckets. And
so
the further
far,
that-
if I may jump in very quickly, just to add to your point anyway, it's not really attacking. It's so far the Foundry has made money for Cryptic in two ways. One, keeps people in the game longer, which will in turn it just makes them more likely to spend money in the game. And two, there's the dilithium tips on it and that sort of thing, which fuels the dilithium economy, which is directly linked to Zen, which is pay currency. So, yeah, currently those are the two forms that Foundry plays in money.
It just seems so disconnected. I mean, we have a holodeck in our starbase, but no Foundry integration. And all these other opportunities where in-game content seems to have nothing to do with the Foundry, except that if you need dilithium that you don't want to get using a mining claim or DOF missions or all the other tons and tons of ways to get dilithium, you can play a Foundry mission. That seems to be the only real way it's connected at all with in-game.
Right. The only incentive.
And I have to admit, I mean, when the Foundry was down it's been down. It's been down for about 2 months. We've sort of gotten into building a KDF starbase, and we started a KDF starbase from scratch. And when I'm really getting into that starbase, and I'm feeling like, okay, I got buckets to fill, I got I need 1,200 seismic stabilizers. I need, all this stuff for a starbase. As a big fan of the Foundry, I mean, I'm not going to the Foundry. I'm turning in a mining claim, or I'm standing in one place at the exchange selling DOFs, or I'm, doing whatever I can to generate energy credits. And even then, I'm like, there is Admiral Bobo Goes to War.
Yeah.
And so even me, who loves the Foundry, when I'm in that mentality of I have buckets to fill, it's like it takes away my mood to play a story. It's all about getting stuff as quickly and as effectively as you can get stuff, usually by standing in one place.
Mm-hmm. The picking up again on what Green Goon says, I've done that a lot tonight, that as though it's an abstract concept, but Foundry does indirectly generate money for Cryptic. And going back to the primetime interview that we had with Stahl back in December, I want to say, December 2012.
Yeah.
It was a Christmas special, I think, wasn't it?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah. He was talking about, really, without the Foundry, Star Trek Online would not be here anymore. And that's because for that entire year, especially previous to Perfect World taking over STO, and then during the time after Perfect World took over, and there was a long gap of content before they really got their new projects out. Foundry was the only new story content. It was the only thing that story players and that sort of thing had to go and do, because even daily quests, there weren't a hell of a lot of things there to do. It was the only thing keeping people interested. We didn't have the reputation systems. We didn't have starbase systems. So I suppose I'm talking myself around again, but now that we do have all those things, we do need more of an incentive for people to play Foundry. And because of that, we need a reason for Cryptic to really put something new in there. Whether that be a new reputation system for Foundry. A lot of people have talked about that in the past, and it's got good and bad things said about it. Yeah, I don't know. I keep talking myself around on these things. I can't decide.
I just worry that only a few people would get any benefit out of it. Kind of like how...
Out of what?
If we have some sort of system where somebody gets a benefit for including an item in it, beyond the fact that you'll end up with, I'll call them grind missions, where people put in a bunch of assets just so they get tips off of it, you're going to run into the same issue with searching for a mission too, where only spotlight missions and maybe the top 5 get all the plays, and somebody who's really deserving and did this great thing with a Davidian map or whatever gets screwed because nobody sees their mission.
I suppose that sort of goes along with what Horient was suggesting, that instead of it being just any random mission, because as he said, it could be overused, and along with what you said, Cast, that you just make it be, say, along with the Foundry contest, they say, make a mission with this item or this set or whatever, and then the winner is spotlit, but then they have the buy this thing at the end of that spotlight mission. What do you think on that?
There's a lot of ifs.
Yeah.
Well, I don't think it's that many ifs. Put it this way: if there was a Foundry mission contest that said make a mission with this item as a focal point or this set as a focal point, then the reward was that when your mission gets spotlit, you also get this little thing popping up at the end saying, would you like to buy this whatever? Would you like to buy this item? Would you like to buy this set? Whatever, blah, 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 blah. Then that Foundry author gets a percentage or a specific dilithium amount from that, from that sale.
But now you're talking about a contest where all the people who enter put in this specific item. And only one of them gets chosen and then spotlit. So they go through all of this so one mission can have these advertisements in them. I mean, really, how is it worth it for them to even put this system in if it's going to be on one mission? Like every month, so many months?
Yeah. And right now the spotlights are really the only missions that can really be found, other than, you know, some in the top rated and new that are story missions. And the people being hurt the most right now are new authors and even existing authors who've made tons of missions that just can't be found.
Oh, yeah.
And so I think the spotlights are doing okay.
Yeah. I mean, my missions are nowhere near the search. I mean,
I have no idea where my missions are.
We've talked about how to, you know, incentivize players to play a Foundry, all this stuff. Right. It's gotten to a point where, and I wonder if any of you agree with me, that I'm almost willing to say just take everything out. You know, like take out the energy credits, take out the dilithium, and let's just go back to that time when the top-rated mission list was full of Admiral Murphy and Captain Revo and all those great authors. And our player base can still tip us dilithium if they want, but they mostly consist of people who just like story missions and they're not grinding. Like, I almost want to go back to those days.
Yeah. Well, that's true too. What Serp said earlier about that was during the time when there was no content coming out. So people had a lot more incentive to play them. You know.
See, the thing is, though, we would lose a lot of players.
We don't get plays now, though, right?
I know, but
unless you have a spotlight,
you would have an even smaller pool of players to possibly get a play of your mission.
I don't know.
No, you were talking earlier about you have the grind, you have the buckets, as you call them. People are going, they're going to fill them, they're going to put in all this stuff. Mm-hmm. A huge amount of players would then just go and do that instead. They wouldn't come and play Foundry. They wouldn't come and play it because they wouldn't have the time, because they're putting it all into making stuff, getting Fleet Master, all that stuff, and enjoying doing that as well.
How many players do you think continue to play Cryptic story missions after they hit level 50? I mean, granted, some of them give special items.
Very, very few.
Yeah, I mean, I admit that I don't. I mean, I played them once and I don't.
How many people then play the same Foundry mission over and over, excluding the grinds? Not many.
Probably very few.
Yeah. Exactly. Same as with the Cryptic missions. Maybe a few more because there's better story for most of them, but very few. So I think that argument's a bit silly as well.
Yeah. I just want those lists to show story missions again.
Right. I do too, but there are better ways of doing it. And taking out an incentive to playing a Foundry mission is not the right way to do it. Putting in something like tags, yes, that's a great way of doing it. You then have a story tab, and you have a combat tab. And you'd have to have people policing it, but I don't think many people would put in grind missions into the story tab. And if they did,
I think
it would be an easy thing. I think it would be an easy thing to go in and for a GM to go, okay, this isn't the story mission, change the tag. That's now
they're not going to do that. They're not going to assign anyone to police the Foundry because it costs them money, and they won't.
They might though. It's a GM thing. You just submit a ticket. You say that it's like you submit a Foundry mission that breaks the EULA. You submit a ticket. The GMs who are already on staff see this ticket. They go, look, yep, okay, boom. It's even easier than a EULA violation.
Sir, have you ever submitted a GM ticket?
I have, yeah.
Have you done one in the last, I don't know, 6 months?
No. You're talking about the massive wait times.
I have a ticket right now for my Foundry dilithium tips, which have been missing for over 11 days. I have not had a response to my ticket in 11 days.
Yes.
Supposedly, tickets are supposed to be responded to in no more than 7 days.
Mhm.
So, no, I do not think that it is a good idea to add an additional burden on the GM system, which is clearly already failing.
But is that GM or is that customer service? Or both? I don't know.
That is an
The-
in-game GM ticket.
The other option then would be having, like you currently do, community moderators in the forums. You have community moderators for the Foundry that deal with those tickets. That's not an insurmountable task. They're people that aren't paid, that do it for the love of it. I mean, I would be quite happy to do it myself. I'm sure most of us would be quite happy to do that. It wouldn't be an awful lot of work. You just go, yep, okay, this has this. You may have to submit it to a superior, to a dev, and then they just, at the end of the day, just go, yep, change that one, change that one, change that one, change that one. It cuts down in time. It's a better way of doing things. Or does just no one agree with me at all?
I think you're looking at it through rose-colored glasses.
Yeah, I think you're going to have a hard time finding anybody over at Cryptic to do it. Even if it's taking
that
an
would
extra
take away
hour a
from
week.
getting my asset time.
But they're most likely not going to take out rewards from the Foundry missions either, because they just don't want to do it. So, what's the difference within saying, well, at the moment we're just going to have a stalemate. No one's going to do anything.
Well, that's
It's just going to stay as it is.
That's kind
Yeah.
of been the norm, right?
Yeah,
But shouldn't we be suggesting ideas that are more practical and long term and actually
But it's just not
sustainable?
asking them to police the Foundry isn't a practical idea given their track record of policing the Foundry.
Then give it to community moderators.
Which still have to be moderated by who watches the watchers. So somebody's still going to end up having
Yeah.
to be assigned to it.
Yes, but one person who doesn't have to look through the reports. They just see, okay, I've been told this one changed, this one changed, this one changed.
And
That's
you're going
not
to trust
feasible.
every single community moderator to
Shadowy
moderate.
cabal.
We trust our current community moderators, don't we, on the forums? There's a
They still
process.
have oversight and can
They
get
do, yeah.
by people who check behind them.
Yeah.
And they're vetted besides, but
Well, then it's exactly the same process, surely, for a community moderator for the Foundry. I don't see how it's any different.
Well,
I think we're probably going to get stuck on this
yeah.
if we don't move on. I just know that I'm right and you're wrong, you know.
Rose-colored glasses.
I hate that term and I wish you'd stop using it because it's not true.
Agree,
Tinted.
disagree.
Rose tinted.
Agree to disagree, yes. Okay then. Do we have any other host topics or anything that someone wants to talk about? Or should we move on to casting couch?
Yes, I just have to actually bring that in. Let's see if I can do that.
We're doing things on the fly.
Yes, we are, and I will
Oh,
do them right now.
And going back to earlier, the chat room was siding with me, Kirkpat.
All right.
The bet.
All right.
So hope if Cryptic disappoint me, they're going to disappoint 3 or 4 other people as well.
I expect a glorious told you so in January.
I hope so. I very much hope so.
Well, we got the intro playing, and I'll be adding those screenshots as we talk about them.
Okay. Can they still hear us?
Yeah, I'm sure they can still hear us. I'm just playing the video
Oh, okay.
over.
So we should be quiet.
Yeah, but we're all set now anyway. Okay, I'm going to take that out. Okay, now we're, go ahead, cast.
well, in tonight's casting couch, we're going to take a trip over into Bajoran space. We want to cast Captain Curland of DS9. Who wants to throw their name out on the hat first?
I think I'll save mine for last.
All right, I'll go. Looking at him, no other particular reason than pretty much the way he looks. I think Billy Bob Thornton would be a good Curlin.
Huh.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah, I can see that.
You know, I mean, go ahead.
I'm trying to think. I really don't know. It's the facial structure. I just can't. Also, I hate his hair. I detest
Which
that
is
hair.
why I went with my first initial choice, George Clooney.
Yeah, actually, that would work.
That is George Clooney hair.
Is it really?
I don't know about that.
I don't think it's George Clooney hair.
Old ER, George Clooney.
Okay.
Oh, maybe, yeah.
Yeah,
But-
kind of had the kind of gladiator do go in there and he.
The other option would be to take the easy route and go Cryptic's own Jeremy Randall.
That you took my
Yeah, but he
pick.
doesn't look like Jeremy Randall. He doesn't look like him.
No, but he sounds like him for some reason.
Well, yeah, he's
Because he's voiced by
Jeremy.
him.
So that was my pick. I mean, I don't care what the character looks like. I think anybody who has a right to play him, of anybody, is Jeremy Randall. I want to see him
suppose.
as Cap.
As Howriant said, just redesign him to look like Borticus.
Then he would look like he's from American Dad.
Right. Okay.
You do know what Borticus's avatar looks like, right?
Yeah, it took me a moment to realize, and I was like, yeah, okay. Okay, I'm gonna have to go with Cast's idea because I can't think of anyone but George Clooney. He just has a weird face.
No,
I'm
okay.
afraid. Okay. and
Our other person on the table tonight is his XO, the somewhat Scottish Commander Andrews.
first of all, can I just say, Scottish?
She could be from a Scottish colony, like those Irish guys that the Enterprise picked up in Up the Long Ladder.
I really want to know: is the voice actress actually Scottish?
Her
Because if
name's
she is,
Stella Quinn.
I'm taking it as a no then. I did try and Google Stella Quinn and I couldn't find anybody by that name ever. So, but there are two voiceovers in game that I cannot stand. The worst one being that one where you land on Vulcan and you literally have the nose pinched Vulcan going, "You're clear for landing." Literally, that's that. I think they may have changed it. I'm not entirely sure, but it was dreadful. And that was the redone
Diplomatic
Pajem
orders.
Gem. Yep.
Pajem mission. Yeah, I hated that voiceover. It made me angry. Karen Andrews, not quite as angry, but I was so hopeful that it would be a genuine Scottish person. I thought, yes, we're representing. No, we're not.
Well, Star Trek has a long history of representing Scots with other nationalities. It's
True.
canon.
Yeah.
And Harriet, no, I disclaim. I do not agree with your claim. The Scottish accent evolves over several centuries. No, it doesn't. It stayed the same for ages because some Scottish people are just completely stuck in their ways.
Read that as we walled them up in the north and left them alone.
Yeah, that's what happened.
Well,
True
you do
story.
remember there was that guy in Next Generation who was in like the first season. Remember Mr. Argyle?
Oh, Chief Engineer Argyle.
Oh yeah, I think he was Scottish, wasn't he? The actor?
I think I removed that part from my brain.
Well, he was subdued. He wasn't over the top, so I figured he was a true native.
So that's the problem with whenever you put a Scottish accent in any film or any voiceover or anything. If it's Hollywood, they make you amp it up.
Right.
So you can never just have a Scottish accent. You have a Hollywood Scottish accent, even if the actor is Scottish.
Simon
afraid.
Pegg's not bad.
But,
Yeah, but-
we dissemble here.
So we do. Sorry, yes.
Who would like to present their actual physical pick first?
Not me, because I'm still
Well, I'll go
deciding.
again.
I,
Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Frank.
all right,
That's
I'll go. I'm thinking maybe a youngish Jodie Foster. Not like a young Jodie Foster, but not an old Jodie Foster. Sort of like
I
a
gotcha.
mid-30s Jodie Foster.
Yeah, like a Clarice Starling, Jodie Foster.
Yeah.
I see that. I was going to say the one who replaced her, Julianne Moore.
Oh, yeah.
I was gonna say Julian Moore. You know.
See, I'm personally a little torn on my choice. My initial choice was Karen Gillan, but
I was gonna
because
say
of
that
the
one too.
events of the 2800, it's one of those.
You couldn't kill Karen Gillan. Is basically what you're saying.
I have a serious problem with doing it.
Actually, Drogan's right, too, because I had her in
I was
mind
gonna
yesterday.
say that one too.
Yeah, I was talking to Cast about it yesterday, and I said...
And I was going to say,
Kelly
there's
MacDonald.
another one I was going to suggest that I know Paul was thinking about too, and that's Kelly MacDonald.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
I forgot her first name, so I went with Julianne Moore instead.
I was literally gonna say Julian Moore, Karen Gillan, and Kelly MacDonald. Why did you all
There
steal
are no
my
other
name?
Scottish actresses.
Oh, there's plenty. Plenty. They're just not identifying as Scottish.
I almost said,
mean,
you know that girl from Boardwalk Empire? But
Well, see, I'd go to Train Spotting myself, but
oh, I saw that
That's
so
just
long
me.
ago, I didn't even realize she was in it.
Okay then. So if that's everyone with Casting Couch,
Yep.
cool. Yeah. Is that us done?
I believe
think
so.
we're
Next
done.
week, a new destination.
So what do we do now? It's live. How do we?
Well, I can run the outro. And we can all go back to our lives.
This is true. We better make a couple of quick announcements then. First of all, you can contact us at mailbag@primetimeugc.com or on Twitter with drivetime_UGC, or is it DrivetimeUGC? I forget.
It's just Drive Time UGC.
Just DrivetimeUGC, all one word, same as the title. You can contact us each. I am at Cerberus Films on Twitter. Paul,
At PF Dennis.
Carsmedian,
At Casmodian.
Kirkvat.
At Kirkvat.
See, we're pretty simple.
Yeah, good stuff.
And we can all also be reached at Starbase UGC.
Well, you can be.
I pass things along.
Oh, I
They'll
don't
tell
have
us.
past things. Okay, then. I'm sure there's something else I wanted to say. Oh, yes. For our next episode, if you would like to come on and do a guest spot, we're going to be opening up the Skype airways to you guys. So if you want to come on and talk about something, or if there's an issue that we're talking about, something that you really passionately want to say something about, you can either record yourself saying something and email it in to mailbag@primetimeugc.com, and we can play it along. You can also do that if you come up with something you want to talk about during this week. Just send us an email. Boom. There we go. We have it. That's more for our non-live listeners. But if you really feel like you want to, you can send us an email, send us a tweet, whatever, and say, can I come on? Can I talk about this? And I'm pretty sure we'll let you. It all
Yes.
depends on Carsmedian, because he kind of gets grouchy when the limelight isn't him. You know, because he gets fired. He feels like he's going to be fired, basically.
I haven't said anything about being fired this episode.
Yeah.
Haven't you?
No.
Oh, quick, Paul, threaten him. Quick.
No, I wouldn't. Why do I want to do that?
I
Do
don't
that
know.
off the air.
Yes, indeed. Yeah. Keep it all for behind the
ni-
scenes.
I'm a nice guy when I'm broadcasting.
I like how you said when you're broadcasting.
So,
Right, well, thank you very much, guys. This has been episode 2. I'm sorry for the technical difficulties, and I'm sorry
Yes.
it's been longer than we intended it to be.
we'll
But,
be tightening up and developing as we go.
exactly, we'll get faster, we'll get better, we'll evolve and become Skynet. And, stuff. So, yeah, please contact us, say stuff, and you can find this live streamed cut down thing, the actual downloadable audio and watchable audio, on Tuesday night.
Yeah.
Is that correct?
Should do it. That should be fine.
And tune in a week on Tuesday for Primetime UGC. We're going to have a little bit of a special little thing there with Brandon as well. So,
Cool.
we'll see you all later, guys. Oh, one very last thing. Support the following link, or else the Foundry Cabal will come after you. The link has just been posted in the chat. That's a minute in the past for you guys now. You're probably wondering why I just posted it in there. But post them that link.
But we don't know
It's-
who the Foundry Cabal is.
I think I have an idea. We'll talk about it later. Anyway, please support that thread. And thank you very much, guys. Bye-bye.
Yes. Good night.
Woof. Are we off?
Can we start saying mean things about people in the chat room?
I've developed this system to keep you informed in the event of an emergency.
Now let's just be quiet.
The attention signal you just heard would have been followed by other
We'll be quiet.
information or instruction. This concludes this test of the emergency broadcast system.
We hear furious clicking.
Pay no mind to the sound behind the mall.
Next time this outro will be in a different scene. That's the problem.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we're done.
Yay!